The Myrtles Plantation, America's most haunted house? The mirror in room 12 showed me standing alone, but I could hear someone breathing behind me. I'd driven 8 hours from Atlanta to St. Francisville, Louisiana, chasing a story that my editor called Fluff Peace Tourism. The Myrtles Plantation, supposedly one of America's most haunted houses, was offering an authentic paranormal investigation experience to journalists. I figured it would be easy content. Spend a night, take some atmospheric photos, write about creaking floorboards and overactive imaginations. I'm a skeptic by nature. I've covered wars, natural disasters, political corruption. I deal in facts, not ghost stories. That was 4 days ago. I'm still here, and I don't think they're going to let me leave. The plantation appeared exactly as the photographs promised, a sprawling antebellum mansion draped in Spanish moss. 1796 construction, 12,000 square feet of Louisiana history. Beautiful in that decaying Southern Gothic way that makes tourists pull out their cameras. Carolyn met me at the entrance. Mid-50s, dressed in period clothing that looked too authentic to be costume. She managed the historical tours and overnight experiences. "You must be Mr. Garage," she said, her accent thick as the humidity. "We've been expecting you." Something about the way she said "expecting" made my skin prickle, but I smiled and followed her inside. The interior was immaculate. Restored 19th century furniture, crystal chandeliers, oil paintings of people whose eyes seemed to track movement. The kind of place that exists in a permanent state of nostalgia for an era that was beautiful only if you ignore who built it and why. The Myrtles was built in 1796 by General David Bradford, Carolyn explained as we walked through the main hall. Over the years, at least 10 murders occurred on these grounds. Some say 12. The house has been investigated by every paranormal team in the country. And what do you say? I asked, pulling out my recorder. Do you believe it's haunted? She stopped walking and turned to face me. Her expression was difficult to read. I've worked here for 23 years, Mr. Garrett. I stopped believing in haunted houses after the first week. Why? Because haunted implies the dead are just visiting. This house isn't haunted. It's occupied. She gave me the full tour. Showed me the famous mirror, the one that supposedly contains handprints of the dead. Pointed out the bloodstain on the floor where William Winter died after being shot on the porch in 1871. Told me about Chloe, the enslaved woman who allegedly poisoned the family's children and was hanged by the other slaves. All standard haunted house fare. Tragic history repackaged as entertainment. You'll be staying in room 12, Carolyn said, leading me upstairs. It's our most active room. Active? Guests report ... experiences, voices, apparitions, objects moving. The usual claims. She unlocked the door to reveal a beautifully appointed bedroom. 4-poster bed, antique furniture, floor-length mirror against the far wall. Dinner is at 7, she said. You're welcome to explore the grounds until then. Just stay out of the West Wing. It's under renovation. She left before I could ask what kind of renovations. I spent the afternoon documenting everything. Took photos, measured rooms, noted all the logical explanations for paranormal activity, old wood settling, drafts from poor insulation, pipes knocking. By 6 o'clock, I had enough material for a solid debunking piece. That's when I found the photographs. They were in the bottom drawer of the room's antique desk. Dozens of Polaroids, all taken in this exact room, all showing different people. Guests, I assumed. Tourists who'd stayed here over the years, but something was wrong with the photos. In each one, the guest stood in front of that same mirror. And in each one, the mirror's reflection showed something different from what was in the room. A woman in a white dress standing where the bed should be. A child's face pressed against the glass. Dark shapes that looked almost human but weren't quite. I flipped through them, my journalist's skepticism warring with growing unease. These had to be faked. Double exposures, Photoshop, tourist trap theatrics. Then I found the photo dated 3 days ago. It showed a man about my age, standing exactly where I'd stood an hour earlier when I first entered the room. In the mirror behind him, barely visible, was a woman in 19th century dress, and she was reaching toward him. I checked the back of the Polaroid. Someone had written in shaky handwriting, Day 1, still think it's nothing. There were more photos of the same man. Day 2, Day 3, Day 4. In each one, the woman in the mirror was closer. By Day 7, she was standing directly behind him, her hands on his shoulders. Day 8 showed just the empty room. No man, no reflection. Just a room that looked exactly like mine. I didn't go to dinner. Instead, I called my editor. The call went straight to voicemail. Tried my girlfriend. Same thing. Checked my phone full signal, but nothing would connect. At 7:47 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Mr. Garrett? You missed dinner. Caroline's voice muffled through the wood. I'm not feeling well, I called back. I think I'll just rest. Silence. Then, you should eat. You'll need your strength. Her footsteps retreated down the hall. I waited until I couldn't hear them anymore, then grabbed my camera and laptop. If I couldn't call out, I'd document everything and leave first thing in the morning. I started photographing the Polaroids, creating evidence, building my story. That's when I noticed the mirror. There were handprints on the glass. Small ones, child-sized. They hadn't been there an hour ago. I approached slowly, camera raised. The prints were on the inside of the glass, as if someone had pressed their hands against it from within the mirror itself. My reflection looked wrong. Not drastically, just slightly off. Like it was moving a fraction of a second after I moved. Like it was copying me rather than reflecting me. I took a photo of the mirror. When I looked at the camera screen, my reflection wasn't alone. There was a woman standing behind me in the image. White dress, dark hair, face pale as bone. I spun around. The room was empty. I looked back at the camera screen. She was still there, closer now, her face almost touching my shoulder in the frame. I deleted the photo with shaking hands. Then I heard the breathing. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Slow, deliberate breaths that didn't match any rhythm of the old house settling. I stood frozen in the center of the room, listening. The breathing moved, circled me, stopped directly behind where I stood. I didn't want to turn around. Every instinct screamed not to look. But I'm a journalist. Facts over fear. Evidence over emotion. I turned. Nothing there, but in the mirror across the room, I saw her. The woman in white standing exactly where I felt the breathing. And she was looking at me, not at my reflection, but at me, her eyes tracking my real position while standing in the mirror world.
She smiled. Then she stepped out of the mirror and into the room. I ran. I made it to the hallway before I realized I had nowhere to go. The stairs at both ends were blocked by darkness, so thick it looked solid. Not Shadow's actual darkness, like a wall of ink suspended in the air. Doors lined the hallway. I tried each one. Locked. All except one near the end. It opened into a room identical to mine. Same furniture, same layout, but covered in dust, like it hadn't been used in decades, and there were photographs on the desk. Polaroids, just like in my room. I recognized some of the faces from the other photos, guests who'd stayed here, all of them showing the progression day 1 through day 8, the woman in the mirror getting closer each time. But these photos continued beyond day 8. Day 9 showed the guest standing in the mirror looking out. Day 10 showed them screaming, hands pressed against the glass from the inside. Day 11 showed them fading, becoming translucent. Day 12 showed an empty mirror. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Mr. Garrett, Caroline's voice, sing-song and wrong. Where have you gone? More footsteps. Multiple set heavy boots, light steps, children's feet, all moving toward my location. I backed into the corner of the dusty room, camera clutched in my hands like a weapon. The door swung open. Caroline stood there, but her smile was too wide, her eyes too dark. Behind her, figures crowded the hallway, men in Confederate uniforms, women in hoop skirts, children in clothes from different eras, all of them wronged. All of them moving in that copied, delayed way my reflection had moved. The house needs you, Caroline said. It's been so long since we had a guest who stayed. I'm leaving, I said, hating how my voice shook. I'm leaving right now. You can't leave, she said, and her voice layered with a dozen other voices. Men and women and children all speaking in unison. No one leaves the Myrtles. We tried. All of us tried. The figures moved into the room. I did the only thing I could think of. Jumped through the window. I hit the porch roof hard, rolled, fell another 8 feet to the ground. Pain shot through my ankle, but adrenaline kept me moving. The grounds were wrong. The beautiful gardens I'd photographed that afternoon were overgrown, wild decades of neglect compressed into hours. The outbuildings were collapsed. The trees had grown massive, their branches reaching toward the main house like supplicants.
I ran toward where I'd parked my car. It wasn't there. The parking area was empty except for vehicles I didn't recognize. A Model T Ford, a horse-drawn carriage. Cars from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, all in various states of decay. My car was gone. The road was gone. Everything beyond the plantation's iron gate was just darkness. That same solid liquid darkness that had blocked the stairs. You're starting to understand. I turned. A man stood behind me, dressed in modern clothes, jeans and a polo shirt. He looked familiar. Then I realized he was the man from the Polaroids. The one who disappeared after day 8. How long have you been here? I asked. I checked in April 12, 2019. Haven't left since. He looked exhausted, worn down. Time works differently here. Sometimes it's 2019, sometimes it's 1821, sometimes it's, I don't know, between. What is this place? It's exactly what Carolyn said. The house isn't haunted. It's occupied by everyone who ever died here. Everyone who ever suffered here, and it needs more. It feeds on us. Our fear, our desperation, our hope. It consumes us slowly over days until we become part of it. Then how are you still? I learned the rules, he said. As long as I don't go into the mirror, I can exist like this. Stuck but not consumed. There are others. We hide in the in-between spaces. The rooms the house forgets about. But you're new, fresh. The house wants you. Behind us, the mansion's windows were filling with faces. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All pressed against the glass, looking out. Looking at me. There has to be a way out, I said. He shook his head. The house only lets you go if you give it someone else. That's the real rule. That's why Caroline still seems human. She feeds it guests. Brings in new people. The house lets her exist in exchange. That's insane. Yes, he said. It is. Welcome to the Myrtles Plantation, Mr. Garrett. America's most haunted house isn't haunted. It's hell. And you just checked in. I've been here for 3 days now. Or 3 weeks. Or 3 hours. Time doesn't work right. I found a room in the West Wing. The one Carolyn said was under renovation. It's not under renovation. It's where people like me hide. There are 6 of us currently. All trying to stay out of the mirrors, out of the photographs, out of the house's direct attention. But I can feel it pulling at me. Every time I see my reflection in a window, a glass, a puddle, she's there. The woman in white. Getting closer. I tried to document everything. Took photos, recorded video, wrote notes. But when I review the footage, it shows things I didn't see while filming. Faces in windows, shadows that move wrong. And always her. Yesterday I found new Polaroids in my original room. They're of me now. Day 1. Still think it's nothing. Day 2. Something's wrong with the mirrors. Day 3. I can't leave. I didn't write those captions. I didn't take those photos. But they're in my handwriting. I'm writing this on my laptop, knowing the Wi-Fi doesn't work, knowing no one will read it. But I need to document what I've learned. The Myrtles Plantation is a trap. A beautiful, historical, well-maintained trap. It catches people, tourists, investigators, journalists like me, and it doesn't let go. It feeds on them until they become part of its architecture, its story, its eternal haunting. Caroline was telling the truth. The house isn't haunted. Haunted implies the dead are trapped. This is worse. This is willing participation. The house offers the dead a choice. Fade away completely or remain by feeding it new victims. Most choose to remain. They become the faces in the windows, the figures in the mirrors, the breathing in empty rooms. And eventually they become recruiters, like Carolyn, like whoever maintains the website that brought me here. Like whoever will replace me when I finally step into that mirror. Because I know I will. I can feel it. The pull. The inevitability. I'm on day 4 now, according to the Polaroids that keep appearing. By day 8, I'll be gone. And someone else will find these notes, these photos, these warnings. And they won't believe them either, because we never do. We see the beauty, the history, the allure of the mystery. We think we're immune. We think we're different. The Myrtles Plantation is still open for tours. Still hosting overnight paranormal experiences. Still advertising itself as America's most haunted house, and people keep coming. If you're reading this somehow, if you're thinking of visiting, if you're curious about whether it's really as haunted as they say, don't. The question isn't whether the Myrtles is America's most haunted house. The question is whether you'll be the next ghost proving that it is. I found the day 5 photo this morning. In the mirror, she's standing right behind me now. Her hands are almost touching my shoulders. I don't know how much longer. If you're still here, stay with me. Subscribe.